Welcome back to the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Wu Ruiguo. In this segment, we will continue our conversation with Professor Chiang, Associate Professor of Political Science at the Suzhou University. Jiang, I'm going to start off with this question for this segment, which is that while Secretary Clinton was in Thailand for the Asia Forum, Regional Forum, she signed on behalf of the U.S. government the ASEAN Treaty on Amity and Cooperation. How would you think such an important treaty, which was something that the United States neglected to sign in the past, now that the United States has entered into such a treaty with ASEAN member states, how would that contribute to the regional peace and stability? And how would that signing change the relationship between the United States and also ASEAN member states?
Well, just like I mentioned in the first phase, it's a very big move for the United States.
Precisely.
In terms of the policy makings. And after signing these treaties, even though the treaty is to prevent internal interventions for those countries, even though the treaty also say not use of force.
Yes.
In
peaceful means.
Yeah,
yes.
peaceful. The only way you can use peaceful means. But for the U.S. in the past, because of these regulations or these laws, rules, the U.S. Didn't like to sign the treaty. But at this moment, why the U.S. decided to sign? Because the strategic environment change that I just mentioned. More importantly, that is, after you sign these treaties, they give you the green light to participate in the region and to participate in the institutional building process. So that's the U.S. What the U.S. want after signing these treaties.
A presence.
Yeah. So now the U.S. could be invited by the ASEAN to participate a lot of ASEAN-related meetings. So in the process, the U.S. will try to make its own influence in the process. You have something to say to present your views. And at least some members of the ASEAN country, they may like to hear the kind of views from the U.S. For example, they would like to use the U.S. pressure to the Burma, to the human rights situation in Burma, and also to some country. Not every country in ASEAN, they share the same view.
No.
Some of them share more Western views. Some of them may share more Chinese views. So when the U.S. come into the institutional process, I think they will make some influence, especially for ASEAN.
Okay. We also know that the Asia Regional Forum is a very important mechanism for dialogue for countries in the region. And certainly that United States in the past, for example, a few years back, Secretary of State from the U.S., Condoleezza Rice, chose not to attend the Asia Regional Forum. And that was something, of course, later was criticized by member states in the ASEAN the Union. And the fact of the matter remains is that this is already the second trip by U.S. Secretary of State Clinton to that part of Asia, Southeast Asia, because when she first took over, she went to Jakarta on her first trip overseas. And this is already the second time she's traveled to Thailand, to Southeast Asia, to this part of the world. So that means, of course, this regional importance is on the rise in the eyes of Washington. So in addition to regional integration issues, what were the other issues this time that were important in the ASEAN Regional Forum? Anti-terrorism or other issues were on the horizon? Can you share with us?
Well, I think number one issues that been discussed in this forum this year, this time in the last week, was the North Korea issue.
Yes.
Yeah, and because after six-party talk stalled in the last 1 to 2 years, the U.S. and other countries in this process or mechanism, they would like to find a new platforms.
Yes.
at least to keep the dialogue open. So ASEAN Regional Forum is one of the alternatives they can use, especially 6 parties all already in the
yes.
ARF. So it's a very good platform or good alternative for 6 parties to continue the dialogue. So this time they also use the ARF to keep the dialogue going. However, the progress was not so impressive because the U.S. continued to push, North Korea to give up the nuclear
capabilities.
That's
yes.
right. But the North Korea still maintain that the U.S. have to guarantee give whatever the North Korea need in its own economy or society.
Yeah.
So the situation is not, the progress was not so great in these meetings. And other issues had also been touched in the meeting last week was other non-traditional security issues, such as health security. That there's the current outbreak of the H1N1
virus, yes,
pandemic, and I think they also discussed something about that, and other things like, for example, poverty, for example, the disaster, and the climate change issues, especially climate change issues that was also very key issues being discussed in these meetings.
I think also another issue that emerged from the ASEAN Regional Forum was, what you just mentioned, the situation in Burma.
That's right.
Of course, I mean, like you said, the ASEAN member states may be divided on this very important issue of, prospects of democracy for, Burma. And also there was a call for the immediate release of Aung San Suu Kyi, from government custody or military custody. But the fact of the matter remains is, in the past, ASEAN member states are usually divided when it comes to political or sovereignty issues. And certainly, something about prospects for democracy in Burma is something, of somewhat of a controversy among some of the states, member states. So what do you think, the ASEAN reaction or the future, orientation will be regarding Aung San Suu Kyi's own fate and also the prospects of democracy in Asia, in Burma?
Well, I think the first I would like to say about this question, about this issue would be, at least this time, ASEAN made a good progress in terms of setting up human rights bodies under the new ASEAN Charter. There would be an intergovernmental commission on human rights. The name would be like this, and it would be officially established, I think, in the next ASEAN summit, which will be held in the October of this year. So I think that's a big progress in terms of human rights issues. However, the terms of references of these bodies still, is not very effective. I would say very effective to deal with the human rights issues. But at least they already make a big step. Hopefully, they can continue to improve their body. Make it more open, more transparent, and more useful to handle human rights issues under ASEAN or in these regions. And second, I would like to say that there would be something about the role of the United States in these issues. And just like I mentioned earlier, that's why the United States decided to come in at this moment. Because when the ASEAN, ASEAN itself is setting up a body, like Human Rights Council under the UN. The USA would think this would be a very good time for United States to come in to say something about that. And also, I would think some member states of the ASEAN, they would like to see, they would like to borrow the influence or the voice of the United States to comment on the human rights issues.
So give them more ammunition.
Yeah, in Burma. So in the future, I think I'm more optimistic about the human rights situations in Burma.
Okay, and the prospects are a little brighter.
That's right.
Than the way it was. But for the remainder of this, this segment, I want to ask Johnny that, given the fact that U.S. attitude towards the situation in Burma was very different before and after, and also now it seems that ASEAN member states are also emphasizing human rights. How do you think that would this be transferable, for example, in the future U.S.-China relations when human rights is also important issue?
Well, I think that's different case.
Okay.
The influence of U.S.
In
Burma may have more substantial impact than that in China. I guess. Because Burma, number one, Burma is different from China. And Burma is a country that's a lot of surrounding neighbors, having their own stake in Burma, including India, including China, including neighboring Southeast Asia countries, and also the U.S. So it's a very
it's a complicated situation.
It's very complicated situations. But for China, that's a territory 100% controlled by Chinese government.
By a single authority.
That's right.
Yes. So that's a different story. Yes. But we're going to continue our conversation about the Asian regional integration and the functions of the ASEAN member states when we come back to the Taiwan Outlook. And certainly, we cannot neglect the role of China in all of this, and that will be the focus of the next segment. I'll see you in 2 minutes.